Welcome to Everyday Lessons in the Bible. Today I was in Ezekiel Chapters 40, 41, and 42. Now the last 9 chapters of Ezekiel is the vision of restoration. And it's all about the rebuilding of the temple and the restoration of people. And so it's just really fascinating to me because you could read this and think that they're rebuilding the temple at that time. But this really, to me, sounds more like the final temple, the one that hasn't been built yet. It's going to be the place where God actually comes and dwells with us. So let's dive in a little bit. So this vision was given to Ezekiel, and it's believed it was on the Day of Atonement where he got this vision. And it's the vision plan for the ideal temple, a perfect environment for Israel's godly leaders and the new covenant to be. And it's really cool to me. Well, they also believe that this was done, scholars believe, during the Jubilee year, where the enslaved are set free and the debts were canceled. And it's really cool because it's called a Christophany, but it's a pre-incarnate appearing of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, Ezekiel wouldn't have known that. At least I don't think he would have, because, he's in the moment. And so often we can't see things when we are in the moment of something. It's later on when you look back, you realize things. I mean, that happens to us all the time. We go through life and the things that we see at the moment, we just can't see the future. We can't see what the result's going to be. And God's always wanting us to trust, what that's going to turn out to be. But that's not what we're talking about right here. This is Jesus coming, and it says he is the measuring man who brings all the full dimension of his likeness. So it says bronze it's a symbol of judgment, and linen is a symbol of righteousness. And Jesus comes to measure the temple. And so in that measuring, it's basically saying exact shows the promise of certain. Equal is the unity and harmony, and vast is his majesty and grandeur. So it's just a picture of Jesus coming to measure the temple. And these are the details of the final restoration of Israel, the restored temple. It brings blessing and life to the nation. So it's not a message of judgment. It's a message of hope. And so it's giving you different pictures. It's going into great detail about how this temple and the courtyard and everything is built. And so it gives lots of descriptive words, which is way too much for us to go into. But one of the things I noted in here was the palm trees, and which is a symbol of praise and victory. And if you'll remember, this is where, they waved the palm branches when Jesus entered Jerusalem. And another thing I noted in here was it mentions the 7 steps from the outer courtyard coming in. And if you'll remember, when we talked about in Psalms, it was in Psalms 120 through 134, it was 15 steps of ascent into God's presence, which was each of the steps. So there's 7 steps mentioned in chapter 40. And then there's also 8 more steps that are going from the outer courtyard to the inner courtyard. So you have 7 steps from the outer courtyard, and then from the outer courtyard to the inner courtyard, there's 8 more steps. So you have 15 steps total, which is the steps of ascent. It's the song of ascent, where it was talking about coming into the presence of God. And so you can always go back and re-listen to that, or read it in Psalms 120 through 134. So I thought that was fascinating. And then you get into the burnt offerings, the sacrifices of the sin and the guilt offering. And it mentions that there are 8 tables for the sacrifice. And 8 is the number of new beginning. And Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice. And then it goes into and talks about this Zadok, which is the faithful priest of David, who separated himself from King Saul and was the high priest when Solomon's temple was built. Now, Zadok means righteous or justified. And you can also find his name, which is interesting, in Melchizedek, which is king of righteousness. And Melchizedek is also a picture of Jesus Christ. And so the Zadok it's his lineage. So it traces back to Phinehas, which was a descendant of Eleazar, which was the son of Aaron, who is the brother of Moses. And God had entered into a covenant with Phinehas way back then and promised him everlasting priesthood. So only the Zadokites, I think is how you would say that, are the priesthood that could enter the holy place. Now, the holy place, so the temple is divided into 3 sections, and you have the portico or the porch area. Then you have the outer sanctuary, which is the holy place. And then you have the inner sanctuary, which is the Holy of Holies. It's the most high place. And so the Zadokites were the priesthood that could enter the holy place, which is that outer sanctuary holy place. And then there was only the highest priest that could enter into the Holy of Holies, because that's where the presence of God would come. And there was a whole like thing, to be able to even enter that, with your garments and your cleansing and everything. And so then this vision that it's giving here, it leaves. So I guess in my mind, this is the end. This is how it's going to be when at the very end, the final of everything. And the reason I say that is because this temple that it is describing here, it leaves things out that are not in Solomon's temple or Moses's tabernacle, which were always so vitally important, which was like the Ark of the Covenant. It's not in this temple, or even the mercy seat is not in this temple. And it's because this temple is going to be the ultimate heavenly dwelling place of God. So there won't be any need for physical symbols of God's residence or symbols of his throne. The role of the high priest has been consummated in the person of Jesus Christ. So I find that super fascinating. And then we go into the part that I was telling you about with the holy place, the holy garments. The garments, like they even had to, once they went into the holy place, whatever garments that they wore, they were sacred. They had to take them off and put on new garments. So when you think about that, when you're in the presence of God, you don't leave how you were. Like how you came in is not how you leave. You are changed. You are a new person. I just think that's a way to look at that. When you come into the presence of God, it should change you. You shouldn't be the same person again. And this can be every single day of your life. You can enter the presence of God every day and allow him to change you, transform you, make you into something new before you go back out to be around other people. And I just think about how important it is for us to come into the presence of God, and we leave all of the stuff behind, and we just come in and bow before him every day to be washed and cleansed and made new every single day in his presence. Thank you for listening to Everyday Lessons in the Bible. I hope you have a blessed day. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.